You know, we have a lot of special elements this morning. And one was to hear from Sam and Chloe about Israel. And it just makes you yearn. I've been there twice. And to hear that and see those pictures, it makes you yearn to go there again. It's like no other place on the planet. Isn't that right? If you've been there, it's so true. So in addition to that, we have a few girls that we'd like for you to hear from. And we're going to do a quick recap of their missions trip. And so I'm going to invite Faith, Kaylee, and Aaron to come on up. And we're going to share a little bit with you. I'm going to invite Pam to come on up. She's going to interview them, and I'm going to give you a chance. We're going to give you a chance to hear from them, some of the missions trips they've taken, some of the events, and some coming up, right? All right, let's welcome these girls.
Come on up front, girls. Come on up front. Let's go a little further. Come on to the front. Aren't they lovely? Yes. Well, aren't they lovely? Yes. They are lovely. Well, we are going to start with Faith Lyseth is on the end. For those of you who don't know, Faith has just returned from a mission trip to L.A., in the L.A. area. Is the microphone on, honey?
Yeah,
Oh.
and also Mesa, Arizona.
Okay, and so who did you go with on the mission trip?
It's Oasis,
Okay.
which is a college ministry in Brookings.
Okay, and what ministry opportunities did you have in California, Faith?
Okay, so we worked with immigrants coming in, and we would clothe them, give them showers, give them food and the gospel. And then we also worked with a recovery center for addiction. And so those were our main two missions that we did there.
And you have a couple of pictures, I think, of where they're receiving the gospel, don't you? Scott, do you want to show those pictures of Faith's team there? Why don't you explain that one a little bit, Faith? What's going on there?
Okay, so there we took a bunch of clothes and we organized them in this room where the people would come in and we'd clothe them. So if they were going to Minneapolis, so this is what it looked like before. It was pretty crazy. And so we would clothe them. If they were going to Minneapolis, we'd give them coats and gloves. If they were going to Texas, we'd make sure that they had a light jacket, stuff like that. They all got 2 pairs of each thing and a new pair of shoes as well.
Okay, Scott, go ahead to the next one. What's happening there, Faith?
Okay, there, right when they got off the buses, so 2 big buses came with all these people and dropped them off there. And when they got off the bus, we would bring them into the church where they, the pastor and his wife shared the gospel with each one of them and asked if any of them wanted to give their lives to Christ.
Did they respond?
Yeah, many
That's
of them
awesome.
responded. It was really awesome. And then after that, we all came in a circle and prayed. And we couldn't understand what they were saying, obviously, because most of it was in Spanish, but you could just tell the emotion in the room. A lot of people were crying, and it was really moving.
That's awesome. Is there one more picture, Scott?
Okay, so this is at the recovery center. So people who have been arrested for addictions, for all sorts of things, have the option, I guess, to come to this center for free. And it's a Christian-based center where they give the gospel to people, and they get 2 semesters worth of classes that they can take away from there. It's really cool because it's a nonprofit organization, so everything that they get is donated there. And a lot of the people there come in from families, and they're addicted on the streets as well. So it's really cool that they clothe them as well, and they give them food and the gospel. And they also give homeless people 2 meals a day, as well as these people. So.
Okay, awesome. And you guys stayed in churches while you were there. It wasn't hotel
Yeah.
living, was it? Okay, so they were on the floor in churches and blow-up mattresses. And so, Faith, if you could summarize your trip, what impact did it have on your life, and what would you want to share, and how would you encourage the church?
So a big impact was, there was a language barrier between a lot of us and the churches because a lot of people only spoke Spanish. But one thing that we had in common with them is that we shared the same God. And so that was really cool to think about. As well as how fortunate we are to live here in this community with all the people that we have is really amazing. And our flight actually got canceled on Saturday when we were supposed to come back, and people were really worried about their classes and everything. But one thing that we realized is that there are people who are worried about when their next meal is going to be, where they're going to stay, and we don't have that worry, so we're really blessed.
Awesome. Okay, would you guys thank Faith for that? All right, Kaylee. I'm sorry.
Okay,
go ahead.
one more thing. Okay, so going on missions trips is awesome and all, but one thing I also realized is that in our daily lives we should be on a mission. When we're going to school, when we're going to work, when we're going to the next sporting event, when we're going to the grocery store, we should be on a daily mission when we wake up to reach the people around us in our lives.
She went on a DTS, a discipleship training at YWAM in Kansas City. So, Kaylee, why don't you share a little bit where you went from there and how many were on your team? Where did you leave when you left Kansas City? Where'd you go?
We went to the Philippines, and there were 16 of us on the team.
Okay. How receptive were the Philippines to the gospel that you would bring them?
So there was Muslims there, and there was Catholics there. The Catholics didn't really want us, they honestly didn't know the gospel at all. They didn't know that Jesus even died and rose again. They didn't really know anything about the gospel. They were just like, I'm Catholic, yeah, that's my religion. And then the Muslims were just like, no, don't talk to me. So it was kind of difficult, but we actually did see Muslims come to Christ, and that was really cool. But yeah, the Catholics, it was just like sharing the gospel with them, and it really opened their eyes to how much Jesus cares about them and what he's done for them. So they were pretty receptive to that.
What were some of the ministry opportunities that you had in the Philippines? I'm sure there was a variety of them. What were some of those that you could share?
So we went to the red light district, which is we would go buy prostitutes, and then we took them out for a meal at McDonald's because it was really late at night. And we washed their feet, and we fed them, and we just prayed over them. We prophesied over them. I got to share my gospel, or my testimony, sorry. And then we shared the gospel, and other people got to share their testimonies, and it was just really powerful. I think it really touched their hearts just to see that God cares about them, despite maybe what they've done or what they've grown up in or anything, and that he sees them. So yeah. Oh, sorry, that was just one thing. Sorry, I forgot where I was going. Schools, we got to speak in the schools, so we got to actually go into the classrooms for a half an hour, and there's pictures. And we got to talk to the kids and teach them. First of all, we shared the gospel to make sure they all got saved and everything, and kind of understood what that meant and how it's just a daily walk with God. It's not just a prayer. And we just got to do that. That was cool. And then we had basketball ministry. And then we just did house to house. We just literally walk down the streets in the slums and stuff and just go house to house and ask people if we could pray for them. And we just shared the gospel and shared the love of Jesus with them. And that's one of our feeding programs that we did. We did Mercy Ministry with Kona in Hawaii. There was a couple other groups there. And yeah, so I think that's all we did.
Okay, explain this picture as you explained it to me when we met on Friday. First of all, answer what one of the biggest oppositions were while you were in the Philippines, and then explain this picture.
So it was definitely spiritual warfare. And it was, we had so much spiritual warfare on our team because we were making such a big impact. When we left, they actually said that we made the biggest impact out of all the teams that have come there. Not to say that has anything to do with us, it was just the Lord. But this picture, it was so cool, and it went to show me how Satan really uses everything he can to get us distracted or scare us or whatever. So we were going down the street, and we were just going to walk to the end of the street to see if there's anyone that we could pray for and then come back. And we were doing house to house at the time. And all of a sudden, 5 dogs just come out of nowhere. 2 came down the street at us, and then 2 came out out the side. And it was just all these dogs started barking at us, and they were growling, and they were coming at us. And I was like, what the heck? So I was like, okay, let's just turn around. So, and then I was like, maybe there's a reason that they're doing this. So I was like, let's just go down the street, see if there's anything. If not, we'll come back. So we go down, and we obviously see this girl she's sitting on her couch, and we asked if we could just come in and pray for her and share some stuff. So I shared my testimony, and we shared the gospel with her. And I guess she told us that she had actually been out of school for a year because of cyberbullying. And it was just so cool. We got to just share everything with her, and she was just thank you so much. This was from God that he sent you here. I really needed this. And I don't know, it was just so cool to be able to encourage her and just I don't know, it was really cool. It really touched her, I think. And then we walked back down the street, and all the dogs were cool. Half of them were gone, and they were just like chilling, sitting there. It was crazy. I was like, okay, that was demonic. But yeah.
I love that story. Okay, if you could encourage the church with something like Faith did, what would it be? And then also, what are your plans going forward from now?
So, yeah, I was actually I literally wrote down missions as an everyday thing. So I was going to say exactly what Faith said. I think we think, because this is what I thought. I thought missions, like, that's for people that go overseas and do stuff like that. And that's not for everybody. Like, some people just do it, some people don't. But it is an everyday thing. Like, even in the Philippines, I saw people that maybe you're like, oh, you know, they're busy. But those were usually the people that needed to hear it. Like, people that are like, you know, I'm doing something right now. And after you share with them, after you share that whatever it is that God puts on your heart to share with them, they're the ones that needed it the most. And they're the ones that are going to be the most receptive to it. So I just encourage you to even pray and just be like, Lord, is there anyone, if you're sitting somewhere or whatever, wherever you are, just be like, Lord, is there anyone that you want me to talk to? And if you highlight someone, just go talk to them and step out in faith that he's going to speak to them. And yeah. Oh, and one of the biggest things I learned when I was gone or whatever was to listen to God when I pray. And I think we sometimes just pray and it's just like a one-way conversation, but to actually listen and just to listen to what he actually is trying to say to us and not just be like, Lord, I don't know what to do here, and then like leave the situation. Be like, Lord, what do you want me to do here? And then wait and listen. And it might take a little bit, but you'll get an answer from him. So yeah.
Good. And where are you going to go? What are your plans?
Yeah, so I'm going back to KC in a couple months to staff, and that's just like I'll just be working on base with them and helping them out there. And then in January, I'll be doing an SBS, and I'm not sure where yet. There's a couple locations I'm thinking about, but it's SBS is a School of Biblical Studies, so I'll just be going more in depth in the Bible and stuff.
Fantastic. Thank you, Kaylee. Yes, give it up for Kaylee. That's awesome. And Erin is going to share from a little different perspective because she has not been on a mission trip yet, but she is going. So Erin, why don't you tell us a little bit about what your plans are and who you're going to go with and where you're going to go?
Okay, so over Christmas, my cousins are full-time ministries and they stick to mostly European countries. And they contacted me and asked me if I could be their nanny on their team for a summer. And I was pretty much like completely shocked because over last summer, like me and Pam and Kaylee and Travis and stuff, every week we'd go out and we would just walk the streets and just pray for God to show us somebody. And it was like something we did here at home in Watertown. You know, there was no like formality to it. It was just prayer and like God showing us what to do. And this summer it just changed my faith completely because I was like acting upon it rather than just, you know, sitting in a pew and just thinking, but like making a difference in other people's lives and like showing God's work. And so I just kind of knew that like I just would pray and be like, God, I want to go out. I really do. Please give me an opportunity. Show me where you want me to go. And then my cousin texted me and said, you want to be a nanny overseas? And I said, I do. And so, yeah, essentially that's what I'll be doing. I'll be going to training camp in Michigan for 4 weeks and then overseas to Europe for 5 weeks.
Okay, and you said that you probably will get to partner with the team as well. What are some of their ministries going to be while they're there? You may not know all that, but what do you think?
Right, yeah. So it's like half kind of intense places and half staying on like the floors of churches. And it's mostly like going to be street ministry and then working with the churches in the towns we'll be in to like stretch their hand out and reach more people in their community so they can continue to do that. So we'll like go out and, you know, do the rough stuff of like attracting crowds and stuff like that, you know. And I'll have, you know, a toddler and a 10-month-old with me.
It fits her so well, I think.
Yeah, I'm studying early childhood education and speech pathology, so I thought, you know, let's give this to God because that's the most important thing.
I loved it when I talked with her on Friday. Yeah, I think it was Friday. She said, yeah, I figure I'll have an advantage. I'll have a baby strapped to my back, and I'll just walk up to some young moms, and I'll tell them about the gospel, and it was awesome. And she's never been a mom yet, but she's going to do it.
I'll just pretend to be a mom.
That's right. That's awesome. Okay, and so you'll be leaving the end of May is when you start your schooling.
Yeah.
And then you'll be gone to the end of July.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, with each of these girls, we had the privilege as a church to partner with them. I know that we received an offering for Kaylee, and Faith had a very successful bake sale with one of our soup Sundays that we had. And so we want to do that for Erin this morning too. We want to partner with her if you feel led to. Pastor Steve is going to come up and pray, and we're going to partner with her if we can to send her out on a mission trip as well. So would you give these girls all a hand? Aren't they just amazing?
Thanks, guys. You can go on back
Thanks.
to your seats. Thank you so much. I wanted to give you an opportunity to see what God is doing here at the church and really in the lives of individuals, right? But to see what God is doing. At the beginning of the year, we established a very clear mission statement, and that is to make disciples in our community and to reach the world, our community and the world, and we're seeing that happen before our very eyes. I loved the testimony of intentionality. That's the only difference between going on the mission field and being on the mission field here. When we go across the seas, it seems like we're intentional, and we know we're purposeful there for being there to reach others and share the gospel, but that's how we need to live here every day. Amen.